On April 2nd, Donald Trump announced tariffs of at least 10% across all countries, with rates going even higher for 60 countries. China will now face a 54% tariff under the new policy, CNN stating China hit hard. However, China's Xinhua news agency called it self-defeating bullying. Chinese strategist Professor Wang Xiangsui pointed out two fundamental logical flaws of Trump's new tariffs war that would accelerate the decline of the United States. First, by imposing tariffs on the world is essentially sanctioning the US. Besides China, Trump's tariff plan also targets allies such as Australia, Japan, Canada, and the European Union. However, nearly all countries have now introduced reciprocal tariffs retaliation policies against the US. As a result, the US is becoming the country most restricted by tariffs in global trade. Analysts and media worldwide have pointed out that Trump's new tariff policy harms others without benefiting the US, causing severe disruptions to both the American and global economies. Professor Wang believes that while Trump's plan is highly destructive to the global economy, it offers almost no constructive solutions. This policy will tear apart the post-World War II global trade network, leading to formation of multiple regional trade networks centered around major economies, with lower internal tariffs, competing against each other. In this new structure, China's early established multi-layered circulation economic system will demonstrate resilience and advantages. As early as 2013, China launched the Belt and Road Initiative. In 2020, China introduced the concept of a dual circulation economy. The domestic circulation refers to China's vast domestic market of 1.4 billion people, ensuring that regardless of global uncertainties, there are no internal tariff barriers or local protectionism between provinces and cities, allowing uniform policies for global investors, thereby providing maximum certainty in an uncertain world. On the external circulation front, China maintains strong diplomatic and trade relations with Russia and ASEAN countries, linking a middle-tier trade network that encompasses 1/4 of the world's population, characterized by complementary industries and lower internal tariffs. The BRI has further driven the development of the Global South. With a solid domestic circulation and stable middle-tier circulation, China will have significant bargaining power when dealing with high-tariff trade networks in the US and Europe. China cannot prevent the US from committing suicide, but after the current global trade order collapses, China, leveraging its strategic foresight and systemic advantages, will inevitably take the lead in reintegrating the fragmented regional trade networks. Second, by imposing tariffs on the world, the US will make the world less dependent on the dollar. Trump claims that raising tariffs will generate more fiscal revenues to address the $36 trillion debt crisis. However, his erratic tariff policies and aggressive stance towards the allies have undermined the very foundation of the US dollar, national credibility. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency primarily because it dominates the settlement of commodities, like oil, but more importantly because of America's strong national power compared to other countries, making its sovereign credit a global anchor. How much is the US credibility worth? When the Bretton Woods system was established, 1 ounce of gold was fixed at $35. However, as of April 2nd, 2025, gold has surged to over $3,100 per ounce, suggesting that the dollar's credibility has depreciated by 98%. Can a fiat currency with eroded credibility still serve as the world's reserve currency? This is a question worth considering globally. Furthermore, the dollar-dominated global monetary system is increasingly disconnected from the real trade pattern. For example, in 2024, China accounted for approximately 19% of global GDP and 14.5% of global exports. Yet the Chinese yuan's share in global payments remains below 5%. However, Professor Wang also pointed out that while gold is a reliable benchmark for currency value, its inefficiencies in settlement and circulation make it unlikely to replace the dollar or restore a gold standard. Instead, digital currency may offer a new solution. Unlike speculative cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin promoted in the West, central bank digital currencies, represented by the e-Chinese yuan, are issued by sovereign central banks with substantial assets as backing. Professor Wang argues that CBDC can be anchored to a weighted index of a country's minerals, food, energy, and industrial productivity, objectively reflecting each nation's weight in global trade, thus fostering a fairer financial order. Russia has successfully implemented commodity-backed currency policies. Following Western financial sanctions during the Ukraine war, the ruble-dollar exchange rate plummeted to a historic low of 1 to 154 in March 2022. In response, on April 1, 2022, Putin mandated that unfriendly countries purchase Russian oil and gas in rubles. Consequently, while energy prices in sanctioning European countries skyrocketed, leaving citizens struggling to afford heating, the rubles rebounded, appreciating nearly twofold by June 2024, surpassing its pre-conflict value by 30%. This demonstrated the superiority of currencies backed by tangible assets. On the other hand, why China and Russia didn't directly adopt cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin? Venezuela has already proven the risks. The US has long suppressed Venezuela, using financial tools to devalue its currency, plunging the world's largest oil-rich country into artificial poverty. In 2018, Venezuela launched the Petro, an X11 algorithm-backed designed cryptocurrency backed by its oil reserves, attracting $3.3 billion in investment within its first month. However, in January 2024, a corruption scandal within its oil sector led to the project's downfall. In contrast, China has taken a stable and methodical approach to CBDCs. By late 2019, China began testing the e-Chinese yuan in several cities. Unlike petrol, the e-Chinese yuan is issued centrally by the People's Bank of China, ensuring transparency, security, and seamless integration into the banking system. By July 2024, China had established e-Chinese yuan pilot programs in 26 cities, with 180 million users opening accounts and transactions reaching 7.3 trillion yuan. The digital yuan has also been incorporated into Huawei's Harmony OS, enhancing its hardware-level security. Beyond China, other Global South nations are also exploring CBDCs. On January 12th, the China Electronic Banking Network reported that Brazil's federal bank had completed the first transaction using its CBDC DREX. Major economies such as India and Russia have also launched their own CBDCs. Professor Wang notes that as more Global South nations adopt CBDCs, these easily tradable digital currencies backed by real-world resources and productivity will decentralize monetary power and promote global financial equity. This shift will help resource-rich but historically exploited African and Latin American nations escape financial subjugation and gain the respect they deserve. In Chinese, the word currency consists of huo, which is good, and bi, money. If resource-producing countries remain in monetary poverty, it only proves that the system is fundamentally distorted. Such a system is bound to be discarded by history. Now, when US allies such as Australia criticize Trump's decision as not the act of a friend, China, equipped with a longer-term economic vision, firmer strategic judgment, and stronger comprehensive national strength, has long recognized the irrationality and unsustainability of the old order. Through self-development, international cooperation, and technological innovation, China has devised a blueprint that is fairer, more inclusive, and more sustainable. What renders Trump's tariff policies ineffective is not only China's economic strength, but also a form of freedom and composure rooted in Chinese classical wisdom. Around 2,200 years ago, Zhuangzi proposed that true freedom is a state of non-reliance and non-expectation on others. If European and Canadian governments truly stand for their people's interest and break free from dependence on the US, they can embark on an independent and long-term development path, ultimately attaining the same highest form of freedom as China. This is the most serious perspective worth considering amid Trump's tariff drama. While Trump destroys the global free trade system with tariff weapons, China and BRICS nations are building new transnational trade frameworks. We firmly believe that global public opinion will side with the builders. Thank you for watching this episode of Top Picks. If you have any thoughts or comments about our show, please reach us at email address below. I'm Chris. Looking forward to hearing from you and see you next time.